Thank you.
Up next, we have Dr. Radhika Batra. She's a pediatrician in New Delhi, India. She's the founder and president of Every Infant Matters, a non-profit organization dedicated to the upliftment of disadvantaged children. She is Forbes Asia 30 Under 30 honoree, a One Young World Ambassador, a trust change maker with Thomas Reuters Foundation, Rising Star and Changemaker, and a Global Peace Index Ambassador for the Institute of Economics and Peace, Sydney. I welcome you today, Radhika, and thank you so much for coming. I know that things are not very well at home. Her mom just got diagnosed with COVID today morning, and she's still here, and I'm very thankful for you to just join the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that introduction. And not just mama, even I am having fever and sore throat. So in all likelihood, I would also be COVID positive, but I had committed to you and I had committed to this forum. So I didn't want to, let you guys down. Thank you for this incredible opportunity to speak on such a, such a burning and such a ignored issue, which is that what is the impact of COVID-19 and the associated lockdowns and the associated misery that COVID has brought on children, on growing children, on infants, on neonates. I think all have been impacted in every kind of way possible. So I made a few slides and I'll just share my screen and I'll speak, alongside the slides. That it's not long. It's not a very, exhaustive presentation. Are the slides visible?
Yes, they are.
Are they changing? Just a second.
Yeah, you can just do it to full screen.
Yeah, just a second. Oh, I've shared the wrong screen.
That's it.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Are they visible now?
Yes, they are. Very well.
Okay, just a second. All right. So, COVID-19, the pandemic has had an unprecedented impact on children, and children have been affected in every way possible. It's a travesty of fate. It's a travesty of justice. It's a travesty that, children who are born and, being a child in a pandemic hit world is just a, very unfortunate thing, because we as adults are so badly affected. You can't even imagine what the children might be going through. So I could start by giving you statistics, about how many have faced depression, how many have been abused. But, there's no use. There are millions of children who are hungry, millions of children who are facing starvation in view of the pandemic. There are millions who have been orphaned because of COVID-19. So there's no point in talking numbers. Let's come to the actual issues, at hand. So, the mind and body, like Dr. Rajiv had very, elaborated very nicely that mind and body are inextricably linked together. And that's what our professors also taught us in medical school, So what I mean to say is that any disease of the mind will cause a disease in the body. So a happy child is essentially, going to have better immunity. He's going to have more chance of fighting infections, more chance of fighting the COVID infection if he gets it, as opposed to a child who is burdened with mental health issues. So, COVID has brought about a situation where the virus itself and this accompanied, lockdowns, the mental health issues, the misery, the unemployment, the lack of resources, lack of money, they can jointly or individually affect the mind and the body both together. And children being the most vulnerable, population, sector of the population are of course the worst affected. So, when we talk about children, what is meant by the word child? A child is not simply a age group, A child is an individual who needs full care. It is a person. He has a set of rights, and that it's just, it's an aspect and a part of, an aspect of society, a part of the population who is not fully developed to adulthood. So, when it comes to dependence and independence, children are very dependent on parents for food, for love, for security, for care, for everything. And a child can only live in a family or a family-like situation. So So of course, that is an ideal situation. Being in a family where there are parents, where there are grandparents, that is an ideal situation for a child. So once if a parent gets COVID, or even if a grandparent gets COVID, and if they don't survive, or they have a prolonged ICU stay, or even if they are isolated in one room, the child cannot understand the gravity of the situation. The child is going to miss their parent, and the child is going to want to meet that person who is in isolation. So suddenly, they'll find that their mother is sick. She's lying down. She's coughing. She's been locked up in a room. The child is not allowed to meet the mother. The child is not allowed to go near the mother. So this is just very unsettling for a child. And then one day the mother is carted off in an ambulance to a hospital. So what happens then? Can you imagine the intense fear and the apprehensions, the doubts that come into a child's mind? It's just unimaginable misery for any child who is who is young. It's unimaginable misery for us adults. What do we say about for children? They can't even fathom this kind of situation ever. And they'll just think that, is she gone, and is she ever going to come back? Will she be safe where she is going? They won't be able to understand anything. So all these issues have collectively caused a fear psychosis. They are going to cause a huge amount of post-traumatic stress disorder in the coming years once the pandemic settles down. So I think the next pandemic that we're looking at after COVID-19 is over is, of course, a mental health pandemic, with children being the worst affected. Right. So very often, when the parents are infected with COVID, as is happening in many, many childhoods, in many, many households, there is a lot of physical neglect which comes along with the parents being, unable to care for the child. So parents are basically an umbrella that protect the child from the intense, adverse conditions that the world throws at them. So with the loss of a parent, or with the parent being incapacitated, who will take care of the child? It's very unsettling. It's very disturbing for these children to understand that suddenly, your mother was giving you food every day. Suddenly one day she's not giving you food, right? And this is more pronounced where the socioeconomic status is low, and it's not very the resources are limited. So once a child, God forbid, a child loses a parent, then the rest of the family might not even care for the child as well as the parents would have cared for the child, right? So a lot of physical neglect would be there, which would cause both immediate and long-term effects on education, on economic opportunities, and of course on the mental health of a said child. So this is what we were talking about. When there's COVID in a parent, that leads to a lot of adverse effects like joblessness, poverty, less food, hunger, psychological trauma, anxiety, depression, aggression, domestic violence, broken homes, higher divorce rates, which ultimately would lead to poor school performance, which would, in the long run, lead to lack of job opportunities, would have an adverse effect on the world economy, and this vicious circle would continue because of the pandemic which is in place. Okay, so so children, after the pandemic set in last year, there was already a lot of starvation and malnutrition in the world, and that just increased at least 100 times. So children all over the world are facing starvation. There are countries like Yemen, there are countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, country like India, in northern Nigeria. Millions of children are displaced from their homes. There are children of migrant workers who are, just they sort of become refugees, and they're on the run with their families. So when people flee for their lives, where is this food coming from? So this problem, the COVID-19 pandemic, has increased the malnutrition problem, and malnutrition comes with a lot of diseases associated with it, and of course it causes an increased susceptibility to COVID-19 and increased chances of mortality if the child were to get COVID-19. So hunger and disease, they do have a cause-effect relationship, and this problem has just been exaggerated a millionfold after the pandemic has started. Another problem which we're facing, of course, is that schools have shut down, and nobody knows what is the standard of homeschooling that parents are able to give to their children at home. And most of the times, if God forbid the parents are affected, then schooling is the last of the priorities. And the education, the quality of education that children used to get has really suffered in the pandemic. And of course, school is not just about studies, and it's not just about education. Going to school is a experience which is very important for the psychosocial development of any child. So all of the activities, the friends, the going to play, engaging in sports, extracurriculars, hobbies, all that has come to an end, and that whole school experience has just it has just been halted. And we none of us have any idea when we would be able to reopen the schools. And to be very honest, it doesn't look like it would be any time in the future that the schools would reopen, because with children, you can't even have this protective gear, which, and you can't trust them that they would be conscious enough to be wearing masks or to be wearing face shields or anything like that. So schools would be shut for a very long time now, and all of those activities, theater, sports, meeting with peers, all of that has come to an absolute end. And the support and the comfort that a child gets in school, the children of today who are in the school going age group in the pandemic are not getting it. So with nothing to do, their eyes are glued to their iPads or the television, or just they're just getting very technology addicted to technology, and they're just on YouTube the entire time. So all of these addictions to screen time, and an increase in screen time is leading to aggravated anxiety and depression, and it's causing a lot of aggressive behavior, specifically in children who are in their early teens. So all these problems are there, and in most of the houses what is happening is that the parents are not able to identify the mental health issues in the children. They're just getting angry at the children, and they're just being very they're also just give me a second. Yeah, yeah, I'm so sorry. So I was just saying that being not being pediatricians or not being mental health experts, these children, the parents of these children are not able to pick up on the issues and the mental health issues that the children are facing, and they are not able to ask for help, as actively as they should be asking for help. So like I said, hunger is not just about feeling hungry. And now coming to my organization, Every Infant Matters, we serve children in need, and we try to counter the ill effects of malnutrition and hunger in children. And we have really stepped up our activities since the pandemic started, just to to sort of tide over this crisis period and help as many people who are worst affected during this time. So of course, we are giving them vitamin A to improve their immunity, so that they don't catch the virus that easily. Because if there's a malnourished child who has vitamin A deficiency, he is much more prone to get COVID-19 than as would be a healthy child whose nutritional status is good. And then we are also distributing a lot of food. We've started something called the Million Meals Project, where our volunteers distribute high quality, nutritious, and freshly prepared food to almost 2,500 people a day. And most of them are children and their families. So we try to tackle this, malnutrition problem as much as we can. And I'll just give you an example. Like in all the construction work has come to a halt. Laborers have no work. Their children are starving. So, we one day we found out that all of our volunteers who were serving the food have succumbed to COVID, and our manager just picked up all the containers of food, and he went to one of these construction sites where the laborers were, staying, and he just distributed the food there, because we didn't want to stop our activities just because people were getting infected. Because the more the virus grows, the more it's like a vicious cycle. The more hunger grows, the worse the malnutrition becomes, and the more is the infectivity rate, and the more people will succumb to COVID-19. So all of these are problems which are in a very, I would say, they're in a um, very interlinked. They're very interlinked to each other. All of these problems, and we're just trying to tackle them as much as possible. So this pandemic, just to summarize, is having a lot of adverse effects on children. Some are visible right now, but many will come in light in the next decade when we will have generations of children who have not had adequate education. They have been unable to support themselves. Their parents were incapacitated, and they are emotionally weak and cannot cope with the vicissitudes of life. So these are the problems we should anticipate going forward and take remedial measures starting from now. Plan it out, chart it out, see how we can tackle the problems that are going to come up in the next 10 years. And then, what, as we adults, what can we do to protect our children? There are a few things which, I thought of that I could share with everybody listening, that, these are the things that I would do if I had a child in the pandemic. Well, first and foremost is love. Give your child unconditional love. Don't be judgmental. We don't want you venting out your frustrations on a child. The child is not responsible for the pandemic. The child is not responsible that you've lost your job. The child is not responsible that you're facing financial crises in your life. The child is just innocent person, innocent aspect of your life who loves you unconditionally. So please reciprocate that unconditional love and do not release your frustrations on your child. Right, you have to cope with all the miseries that have been thrown at you in the best way possible, and loving your child is the best way of counteracting this misery, I would say. When you look at your child, you just feel this immense happiness which suddenly comes on, and I don't think anything can beat that. I don't have a child of my own, but I have children in the hospital, and when I'm very 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 sad or very very upset, I just go and play with them, and half of my misery goes away. So children are a source of happiness, and let's give them the love that they deserve. Second, of course, is nutrition. Keep your child's nutritional level as good as possible. Learn how to provide good quality nutrition. If you're facing a financial crisis, there are ways to give your child very high quality nutrition at a very low cost, and that's what I teach everybody. In every infant matters at my hospital, where we get a lot of disadvantaged mothers and patients. This is a part of a holistic health program, that we're running at Every Infant Matters. We counsel mothers on good nutrition. For example, an apple is an expensive item, but a banana is not. And a banana is highly packed in nutrients. An egg is not expensive, it's highly packed in nutrients. So give your child very, very good nutrition. You have to give them, a diet which is rich in vitamins and minerals, high in fiber, high in iron. You have to prevent anemia. Cooking in iron utensils. In India, we say lohe ki kadhai mein khana banana, which means that you use a vessel, a deep bottomed vessel, which is made of iron, which helps in improving the iron content of the food, and it helps in fighting anemia. And anemia is, of course, one of the other reasons why immunity falls in children. Right. So nutrition, and then of course support groups for children for families, for children. Suppose you have an extended family, have a support group with all the children of different age groups. With other children, have online webinars, Zoom meetings, organize interesting, engaging activities for them over Zoom. It's okay. They can't meet their friends, they can't meet their cousins, but they can have a dance session online or a hobby session online, some classes online. All of them are available these days. Encourage activities within the house that includes physical activity, dancing, aerobics, yoga. All these things should be encouraged, because exercise releases endorphins, which are very good for the mental health of any child or any adult for that matter. Right. Last thing I would say is that it is of course a very stressful situation, and all of us are, at least in India, are going crazy with the amount of work which has suddenly come upon us, be it arranging resources, be it helping other family members in need, be it helping a family and friends, or just helping around the house because we don't have domestic help anymore. All of these things are really piling up upon us as adults. So encourage your child to help out in the house, because when you give them a task to do, they keep occupied, and when they accomplish that task, they feel very very satisfied and happy. So for instance, I'll give you an example. There was a teenager who was undergoing a lot of depression because of being under lockdown. She was not able to meet her friends, she was not able to go to school. But then one day she was told, your mother might be COVID positive, you have to arrange a room for her. Once she gets back in the hospital, you have to make it a nice, happy, beautiful place so that your mother is happy in that room. And she spent days prettifying that room, buying cushions to online to make the room nice for her mother, and that gave her a lot of happiness. So encourage your child to help out, encourage your child to engage in household activities, and you can offer small rewards. So suppose there is a lot of cleaning, there's a lot of chores to be done. You can delegate them, a few of them, to your children. Of course, they should be old enough to do them. And once they accomplish those tasks, they'll feel very good about themselves. And you can also offer small rewards. You can have a system within your family where you can have a chart, where you can give one child one golden star for completing one task, two golden stars for completing, and at the end of 10 golden stars, you buy them a present. See, these are all tactics to engage children while this crisis lasts, and engage them in conducive, positive, creating a positive atmosphere for them as much as possible. We can't shield them from the news. They are watching the news every day, more than us. They are watching. They are following newspapers. They are following the number of cases more than us. They're following the deaths more than us. But we can at least, distract them for a little while and help them escape their misery for a little while. So I think that's all about what I wanted to say. And I think people say that a picture speaks 1,000 words, and I'm just telling you stories because every anecdote paints a picture. So I think that's all I have to say. And thank you, all of you, for listening. I hope that helped a little.
Thank you, Radhika. We loved your talk. It was, we felt attached. It was real. It was full of good examples.
I'm so sorry. I could have done a better job. I'm just not very well right now.
You were ill. Please get well very soon and come back roaring for our next event. So please take care of yourself. My best wishes to your mom and grandpa. And
Thank you so much, Kanupriya, and thank you all for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's the director of Royal Kids Nursery and Pre-Nursery School since 2014. Her goal is to provide an affordable, high-quality education to the Mauritian young children, an education which will develop a strong base for primary schooling. Let's see how she's been dealing with pandemic and how the school is going and what she has to say today. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Kanupriya. Thank you, everyone. Actually, we have got great insight from all the participants. And most of you have already spoken about the impact of COVID-19 on children. So what I'll be talking today is my experience actually with the parents. What are the feedback I have been receiving from the parents during this lockdown period, and what we as a school we have been doing to help the parents. Actually, this is our second lockdown, as some of my Mauritian participants, some of the Mauritian participants have already mentioned. It's been 6 weeks now since the children are out of school already. So the children are at home, they have changed the routine, and it is mostly the parents who are with the children 24/7, day after day. So what we have been doing is we have been with constant communication with the parents, and I'll just give you some of the points of what the parents have been telling me, that the changes in the attitude of the children that they have actually seen till now. So most of them have actually reflected that the children are now more irritated. So there is more irritation from the children. The children just cry for just anything, for the drop of a hat. They are restless. And this is what actually we have been talking, because children have a lack of activities. They are not going out, so there is no meeting with their friends, no socialization, etc., which is a result of it. So it is a sign of depression and anxiety, which is the result of children being confined to their homes. Another symptom is that children are returning to behavior that they have outgrown. For example, children who were already potty trained have maybe started using nappy a bit more, or having more accidents. Children who had grown out of the pacifier are now looking for comfort in this again. And it is those kind of behavior which children have grown out. For example, they had limited screen time, so now there's not really this limit. So they have constantly on their TV or tablet or smartphone with YouTube and everything. And there has been also an kind of unhealthy eating habits, because when people are at home, at the beginning, it's a lot of food on the table, because most of the day the children want to snack, want to have food. So there has been unhealthy eating habits, and based on last year's experience, we find that there has been cases where children have been gaining weight, unlike what they usually, because usually they have a lot of activities, they come to school, there's all these exercise. They're now confined at home. Children have a tendency to gain weight, and there is an erratic sleeping time. So there is a disruption in the sleeping habits. This has been something which a lot of parents have highlighted for us. So there is no real time to wake up and real time to go to bed. And there's also that thing, there's the difficulty to concentrate. Children get difficulty to concentrate, to focus on something, because firstly, they're just confined day after day on the same thing. They don't have that space, really. Not every child has got the opportunity to have the required space. And as was mentioned, now we are more in a nuclear family. So it's the father, the mother, and the child. So this is what the parents have been giving as a feedback to us. So on our side as a school, what we've been doing is, as was mentioned, which helps, is the online sessions. I'm not saying online teaching for us, because here we need to realize that we are catering for children less than 6 years old. So we are having online sessions. Online teaching 9 to 2 o'clock is not really healthy and relevant for children for very young children. But we are having daily online sessions with the children. What we did is we brainstormed with our team, and we reflected on several studies, and we came out with a strategy that we're having 2 30-minute sessions with the children every day, Monday to Friday. Why I'm saying sessions is because it is not just, these Zoom sessions are not just a continuation of the curriculum or education. It is a way to interact with the children. It is a way that they are getting the opportunity to speak to their teachers, and it is a way for them to see their friends. And we have been in very close contact with our parents, because we know that this is a time where it can be challenging for parents to have young children at home. And most of this second lockdown, what I found is biggest proportion of parents now are working from home at the same time. Maybe companies have adapted that now they're requiring the parents to work from home compared to the first lockdown last year. The parents are having the challenge of having to work at home, to have the children with them, and to have the house to look after and everything. So it can be really challenging. So what we propose is every morning at 9, some sessions start at 9 o'clock, some at 9:30. The children are there, and we do the circle time with the children, which involves usually at school we do the prayer, the national anthem, and conversation with the children. So the children are getting the opportunity to still talk to their teacher, see them, converse, see their friends. So this 30-minute circle time is kept for all the children, and each one are getting this opportunity. And then we have a break time, and then it can be 1 hour or 30 minutes. This is set for every class. And then after 30 minutes, they meet again, then they do some activities. Activities are worksheets that is a bit of education, which is a continuation of what they've been doing at school till now. But we have had to adapt it, obviously, because we cannot just take what was done at school and continue doing it now. So we've involved a lot of activity. For example, when we're doing colors, we need to go and do treasure hunt at home, looking for things that of that particular color. Counting is done with the spoons and forks. For example, circles is based on what is available, shapes, what is available in the kitchen. It is really adapting it and making it fun and interactive for the child. So this has, we find that the children are really participating. They have a good time, they love, they communicate. It is a time where they feel valued, they feel that they are really getting the opportunity to express themselves. And we have fortunately had a good participation. Initially, it was a 70% participation from parents and children. And as they go by, we try to communicate with the rest of 30% and asking them why they are not involved. Actually, we said it is not compulsory because we do not want it to be a pressure on the child or on the parent if he or she cannot attend during that time. But we've been communicated and have an open discussion about why is there an issue. So some of them have maybe they were not very used to the Zoom application. So we've tried to coach them, and until now we have approximately 85% participation rate on our Zoom classes. But what I'd like to say here is the Zoom classes is not about teaching. It is about having these children having a routine, because children thrive on routine. When they get a time to wake up, they know there's a time when they will come, they will see their teachers, they will see their friends. It's from Monday to Friday, and then they have their weekends, and then they have some worksheets afterwards where they can do a few things at home. It helps the child and the parents to actually have something to do and know where to channel the child. Now, it's not only about worksheets. We also have exercises that they do online, and the children are really, really excited when this is done. When we do the jumping, and when we do like the clapping hands, when we do the running, even if it is just in the house, they are really participative, and we find that the parents are also very happy about it, and we find our children happy. So this is what is important during this period. The education is important. However, now during that lockdown period that children are at home, it is important to keep them happy and also to give them that opportunity to express themselves, because we are adults when we find that we get frustration, we can't maybe express ourselves. Children sometimes, when they see stressed parents, or sometimes it is an eventuality that they are witness of domestic violence or abuse, they are seeing these things, they can maybe keep everything to themselves. So having this interaction with their carer, with their teacher helps. We really believe it does help the children. And it is something that we would wish that most schools would do. Actually, I'm in an association with the pre-primary school managers, and a lot of them said that they don't find it relevant for children, young children, to have Zoom session, because they say the teaching cannot be done because teaching needs social interaction. I agree. At that age, social interaction is really important. But when we are not able to have it, so I think this is really important, where we are getting the opportunity to talk to the children and they are getting the opportunity to see us. We have had queries from parents, and we have, even when parents ask us, we give one-to-one virtual meeting with the child and the teacher, and they get to talk and express each other, because we all know that young children confide and trust their carers, their teachers. They do have that bonding, and there is this love that they get at school, and there is this connection which is built. So having this communication, I believe, is really important. For the future, what I would love to see is more and more private schools, because in Mauritius, the pre-primary school is mostly private institution. It's more than 70% is reflected as private institutions. I believe why the private institutions are not doing it, it's only a handful which is doing it, is because teachers, managers didn't get the coaching how to interact with young children virtually. It is true, it is very different. With our team, we had to have a lot of sessions, a lot of coaching about what are the activities that can be done and which are relevant virtually to be done with